We're going to go through Arizona basketball player grades so far, about 40% of the way through the season, what needs to happen on all of that and more. And let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. This show is brought to you by Gametime. All right, check it out, Gametime. All right, now let's talk some Arizona basketball, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk player grades, improvements. We're going to essentially go position by position and talk about what Arizona needs to do. But first and foremost, let's go. Why don't we go with returning players all the way down, starting in the front court, though. Oumar Ballo. All right. Oumar Ballo is an interesting case because I think a lot of people were hoping that Oumar Ballo would kind of make that next step. But that's not really his thing. I think at this point we know that, yes, he's a very good basketball player, but I think what you see with Oumar Ballo now is what you are going to continue to see with Oumar Ballo. And again, that's not a bad thing, but that's also kind of where Oumar Ballo is. Oumar Ballo is a very strong player. He can rebound, as we've seen. Anybody that has a 19 rebound game, you can tell what he's doing. But he's also going to be somewhat limited, and we've talked about this before, that he's not always going to be the player that is going to be able to get the ball and finish against length, finish in traffic. That's always going to be kind of his little bailiwick, for lack of a better term. But overall, a good player, and not only a good player, somebody that has beat the odds. Like I said, when he came in here, I thought you were going to be watching kind of a Gene Edgerson type. And again, that's no diss towards Gene, but somebody that kind of runs in there, throws some elbows, gets some rebounds, pushes people around a little bit, and then goes back to the bench. That has not been the case for Oumar Ballo, leader of men. He's become an all-conference player, and not only has he become an all-conference player, he's also been the player that, again, kind of been a staple for Arizona basketball, and he's had some really, really good, really, really big games. It's going to be it'd be nice to see him finish out the season strong. Doesn't really get an A, though, because he never really was able to get the ability to finish against length. That was always going to be somewhat of his problem. And again, there's not much that you can really do about that. That just kind of is what it is. But again, solid B for Oumar Ballo. All right, Kadeem Johnson now. Again, we're just going to go front court all the way down. Kadeem Johnson, we're going an A-. Kadeem has been overall everything that Arizona was hoping that he was going to be, and a little bit more. He's brought a toughness to the equation that Arizona did not have before. And not only does he bring a toughness, he's also been kind of that energy dude. And by that energy guy, I also mean that somebody who, gets up and down the court, holds people accountable. And again, nobody's pushing around Kadeem Johnson. Kadeem Johnson is going to be the one that is doing the pushing around. So again, Kadeem obviously knows what he is doing. Has been a very good player for the University of Arizona. But it's weird because he's had a couple games of late where you're kind of scratching your head a little bit. You're wondering what exactly is going on here with Kadeem. And that's something that I think that if you're Arizona, you need to see rectified, because he needs to be one of the two best players on this team. Now, again, by and large, he has been, but he still needs to be one of those two best players. And he's an effort intensity player that not only is he an effort intensity player, guys like that should always be able to get a certain amount of points, and not only a certain amount of points, but also a certain amount of rebounds just by running the court. And I think that's exactly what he needs to do. But overall, he's been good. There's been a lot of games where he's been amongst the best players on the court against really good teams, no less. You look at Purdue. Now, listen, Zach Edey went into that game, but Kadeem Johnson, I think, along with Caleb Love, you can make the case where they were as good as about anybody in that game. And then Michigan State, much the same way. Michigan State was the team that I think really kind of caught a lot of people's eyes to just how good Keyshawn is. They need Keyshawn Johnson to get back on track. That's not too much to ask. Again, Keyshawn is good. Keyshawn can play. Arizona needs him to get back in the right frame of mind, and I expect that one to happen. All right, now. Let's talk a little bit about Pel Larson. Pel is an interesting case here because Pel is going to be a B. And as I always say, I was wrong. My bad, Pella. But there are some frustrating aspects to Pel Larson. We talked about ad nauseum that he can't really dribble. But more so than anything, there's a lot of games where you're wondering what exactly is going on out there because he doesn't look like he is fully engaged in the game. And that to me is something that can't really happen. Pel Larson has to be engaged in basketball. And if he's not engaged, then I don't really know what the problem is. Because you got to remember, Pel Larson is what? Almost 23 years old. And not only is he almost 23 years old, he's somebody that we've seen be really, really good. And so again, there's no reason that he shouldn't be able to do that. And not only is there no reason that he shouldn't be able to do that, he's also the kind of player that he's also the kind of guy that I think it's fair to say that, you should be able to bring it every single night. And not only should you be able to bring it every single night, you should be able to get to the point where even if your shot isn't falling, you're able to essentially get the kind of baskets you need. Because again, his stuff isn't based off creating off the dribble. His stuff is based off attacking the hoop, off of cuts, off of hustle plays, getting rebounds, making assists. It's not really, it just wasn't his game from the field. That's where I think it's a little bit frustrating. But again, he's a very good player, but Arizona just needs him to be consistent. I don't see him playing in the NBA. I know a lot of people really like the Christian Brown comparison. I don't see that one. For a variety of reasons, but we'll just, that's neither here nor there. But the Arizona needs Pel Larson, though, to be the best version of Pella, to be a consistent version of Pella. And again, when you're 6'6", when you're really athletic, when you're strong, when you got a pretty good feel for the game, you got to eliminate those mental mistakes. Those mental mistakes, I think, are what really kills Arizona. And again, if that's going to hold Arizona back from being where it needs, Arizona's got to be able to get that one rectified. And I'm curious to see exactly how that plays out going forward. But again, you need more out of Pella, not less out of Pella. All right, now, the next guy, Caleb Love. I'm giving Caleb Love an A, solid A. All right. Now listen, he's far from perfect. We all know that. And that is going to be the tease for the next segment. But first, game time. Let's say that you're watching Arizona basketball and it's driving you crazy or you're super excited. Either way, Game Time has you covered. Download the Game Time app today. Use code Locked On for $20 off. And here's the cool thing. You're thinking to yourself, all right, I want to get to that game. Game Time has it. Game Time not only has it for sporting events, it's also got you for concerts. It's got you for a multitude of different avenues. Check it out. Game Time. Again, download the Game Time app. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's move on a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about where Arizona is at the shooting guard position. Again, I give Caleb Love an A. Now, again, the Caleb Love experience is there's going to be some good and there's going to be some bad. We've definitely seen that. Some of the bad is putting your head down and essentially just trying to do whatever. The bad is also trying to be LeBron and dunking against FAU with just laying it up would have essentially put that game away, or it would have at the very least put FAU in a very, very difficult situation. Caleb Love's going to do some boneheaded things, just kind of the way it is. But here's what I've never doubted with Caleb Love. I've never once doubted his effort. And at the end of the game, he wants the ball. That is a huge thing for me. When a player that wants the ball And Caleb Love, that dude wants the ball. That is massive for me because we saw last year. There wasn't really anybody that wanted the ball down the stretch in a big spot. That's going to be Caleb Love. Good or bad, that's going to be Caleb Love. And we've seen him time and time again bail Arizona out at the end of shot clocks, at the end of games. And heck, even that last second shot against FAU, that wasn't a very well-designed play, but Caleb Love almost made that. So, you gotta take the good with the bad with Caleb Love because the good definitely outweighs the bad. Defensively, he's not great, but he at least tries. Like I said, he's shooting 43% from the field. He's never going to be somebody that's going to shoot 30, or 50% from the field. But overall, I am more than okay with what I've seen from Caleb Love. As a matter of fact, I think I was a big proponent of adding him, and I think that he's been very, very good for Arizona. I'll give Caleb Love an A. Again, he's not perfect, but he's been the best player on this team, and I think he's the player that you feel game in and game out. You have the most confidence that he's going to be that dude that is going to bring it. So, Caleb Love, we appreciate you. We applaud your efforts, my friend. Then, Kylan Boswell. Kylan Boswell is a C. Listen, Kylan Boswell is good. We've seen Kylan Boswell be very, very good. And I think that's what's frustrating to a good percentage of Arizona fans is you've seen the really good Kylan Boswell. And where is that Kylan Boswell? Where is that? Because that hasn't been here for a while now. The people around him have always talked about how they want to see him in the NBA in 2 years. I get all that, but still, we haven't really seen anything to indicate lately that that's going to be the case. And it goes for a variety of different reasons. First of all, he's a good shooter. I mean, we saw the Duke game where it looked like he was the best player on the court for a good percentage of the game. We know he can shoot. Last year's percentages speak for themselves. But now he's passing up open shots to take a dribble in and shoot an 18-footer or, something where it just doesn't look like he's very confident. And Arizona's got to get that one rectified. Because it's affecting all aspects of his game. Defensively, he's probably been the worst player on the team. It's not a coincidence that when Jaden Bradley's come into games, Jaden Bradley's been the one that's kind of, picked up the tempo a little bit, picked up the pace. And the reason we're being harsh on Kylan is that Kylan, again, like we said, Kylan is good. Listen, with Kirk Kriisa was always going to be somewhat limited. There was always going to be kind of an apex for Kirk Kriisa that just wasn't going to be good. Listen, he talked a lot. He did have some good games here at the U of A, but the biggest problem, though, I think for Kerr and I think for a variety of other reasons was that he just didn't really back it up and he wasn't that good. But physically, he just kind of was very mid. Kylan Boswell can be good. Arizona needs him to be good. And again, there's no reason that he shouldn't be able to be good. Again, Arizona needs more out of Kylan Boswell, not less out of Kylan Boswell. That's for sure. So again, going with a C on that one. Don't care if the tweets are being skewered or whatever. Just need Kylan Boswell to play better. Then coming off the bench, KJ Lewis has been an A. I'm wrong on a lot of stuff, but KJ Lewis was one that I was not wrong on. KJ Lewis was a miseval of all misevals. That is not what a fringe top 100 basketball player looks like. He's 6'5". He's incredibly athletic. He's strong. He can take it to the hoop. Not only is he strong and he can take it to the hoop, he's also the player that continues to get better and also looks like he just wants it. And I think that's something that is, as Arizona fans, it can be easy, it can kind of be easy to, look past a little bit. He is a player that wants it. And not only does he want it, he has continued to be around the ball. And not only has he been around the ball, he's been the guy that, when there's a loose ball, when there's a play to be had, KJ Lewis is generally the guy that's kind of around that picture, and he's had some big moments here for the U of A as well. Arizona just needs him to continue to do that. And I think he's going to be able to continue to do that because, like I said, he is he's kind of like a sponge. Tommy Lloyd has talked about this, kind of soaks in everything. And not only does he soak in everything, he has an understanding for the game, an inherent understanding that you can't really teach. I think you either have or you don't. And KJ Lewis has that one. my only slight concern is that I don't want him to be showcased too much, because I don't want the Dalen Terry thing to happen where you really catch the eyes of some NBA scouts and then you end up heading out early to the NBA. I think that'd be a mistake. But I'll tell you one thing: if I was a team late in the mid to late first round, and I had to pick, I'm looking very hard at KJ Lewis, because I think KJ Lewis is one of the few players in the world that can be absolutely as good as he wants to be. I think the shot is going to be fine. Listen, he can't shoot right now, but I think by next year, the year after, he's going to be good. The form is good, and the way he attacks the basket, the way he wants to get better, is something, again, that is just kind of inherent. You can't really teach. You either have or you don't. Jaden Bradley, B+. I love Jaden Bradley and what Jaden Bradley's been able to do. As a matter of fact, I'd like to see him start playing a little bit more. Listen, he's not the greatest scorer in the world. We all know that. But what he does do is that he can get into is that he can finish in transition, and he can finish when he kind of dives his way to the hoop. That's something that, again, is a pretty interesting aspect of what he can do. When you watch him, though, the one thing that does really stick out to you is the defensive side of the ball. When he comes in, Arizona's game base picks up, and it picks up in a big way. And like I said, a big part of that is because he's active around the ball. He's got very active hands. And not only does he have active hands, he's also the guy, he can shoot passing lanes. And when he gets going, he's also able to finish around the hoop. And not only that, he just kind of is a disruptor. And that's something that you that's something that you either have or you don't. Kind of like KJ Lewis, he has that. He's been that disruptor, and I think that's something that has been incredibly impressive for the University of Arizona. Like I said, I think that Jaden Bradley is going to I would like to see him at some point maybe start cutting into some of those minutes. But either way, he needs to continue to get at least as many minutes as he is, because there's pretty much nobody else on the roster that can replicate what he does. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, let's talk a little bit of errors. Let's talk a little bit more about bench. We're giving out grades. Mount Crevis, C+. All right, here's where I'm at with Mount Crevis. I thought early on in the year, this guy was going to be a problem for the college basketball world, because, again, there's certain things that he can do that, again, you can't really teach. He can finish around the hoop. He's got very soft hands, and he's got a variety of post moves. But he's also he's a little stiff, that's for sure. He's going to get there, but he's also not there yet. This is going to be a longer-term projection, but I still am very bullish on him in the future, but Tommy Lloyd is obviously not super confident with Mount Crevis in the game at this point. I do think it will change a little bit, but overall, I like his potential. But right now, I think it's hard to give him anything other than a C+, because he's clearly kind of trending downward. Lloyd obviously isn't super enthused by what he's seen, and I kind of get that as well. But overall, big picture, this kid's going to be good. You can tell. I think that he just needs a year to really kind of acclimate to the American game. Like I said, next year, I think that he's going to be a 15-8 player. I think he's going to have an all-conference type potential to him, because, again, he's massive and he's got pretty good basketball skills that you can't teach. But again, going C+ for this year. All right, then now we get into kind of the players that are on the bench that it's hard to really grade, but their impact is interesting. Paulius Morauskas, Paulie M. I think that Paulie M, it's fair to say, is your ninth guy. I'm going to give Paulie M. All these guys are going to be incompletes, so we're just going to kind of talk about it. But I like Paulie M is a lot like Philly B, and that Paulie M is looking to get into the game and looking to get his shots up. And not only is he looking to get his shots up, he's been connecting. I mean, listen, Arizona played an awful game against Stanford, but Paulie M came in there, and Paulie M looked pretty good shooting the basketball. And again, it didn't look like the moment was too big for him. Granted, there's nobody at Maples, so it shouldn't be too big. But Paulie M, I thought he's been a nice little piece. You can tell maybe he's probably a year away from being good, but there's a lot to like there. He's not, and again, he's I don't want to say he's a great athlete, but he's good enough. And he's legitimately 6'8", 6'9". He's not 6'6.5". So there's a lot to work with Paulie M. Philly B. All right, Philly B, I'm not going to give it incomplete. I'm going to go away from what I just said. I like Philly B. Philly B is definitely better than I think anybody thought he could be. I don't know that he ever plays at Arizona, but he's definitely he's definitely a Power 5 Division I basketball player. If he were to play at, say, ASU, for example, I think Philly B is getting, I don't know, 20 minutes per game, maybe a little bit more, because he can shoot. And like Paulie M, he's also very confident in what he's doing. You're never going to have to tell Philly B, hey, Philly B, get in here and get excited. Not going to have to tell him any of that. He's already in there. He's already excited. I like him. I hope that he sticks around, because not only I think if he sticks around, I think he's a great practice player, and who knows, maybe you pull a Dylan Anderson or a Ricky Anderson and you redshirt him with the hopes that, next year or the following year with a little bit stronger, you can do a little bit more. All right, Conrad Martinez, incomplete, but you can tell when he gets into the game, he's pesky. I don't know that he's ever going to play like a real role here, but you need players like that in practice. As long as he's cool with the role and he embraces it, then I'm cool with it as well. He's not bad. He can be useful. And who knows, maybe down the road, he can be a little bit of a fill-in spark plug. Dylan Anderson, I'm glad that Dylan redshirted. I think that Dylan's got a world of ability or a world of potential. I just didn't know that it was going to be realized this year. I think next year Dylan is going to be good. Henry, listen, with Henry, obviously you got the injury. I just don't see Henry actually ever really playing meaningful minutes here at the U of A again. I think that Dylan has surpassed him. And Henry to me is just kind of he's trying hard, but I think he's also a Missy Val to a certain degree. All right, now coming back tomorrow, we're going to be talking some Arizona football, some Arizona, Colorado as well. But as always, thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day.